Welcome back for tutorial number 8. And today I thought we might look into the magical world of hybrids. Because in Modalys you can make objects melt and mix. And they are called hybrid objects here. So there are two kinds of objects where you can melt two separate objects. Let's say you have a spider silk string and a diamond plate, and you want to kind of mix them together. There is the melt hybrid, where you kind of trigger both, but you have a controller which kind of fades to the other one. So you have basically a model of overtones which is created, and it kind of fades from one, it melts from one to the other. They even write making efficiently Sunday. The mix hybrid, it's also described here again, but I'm trying to kind of explain it with my own words. The mix hybrid is more of two objects kind of put together in one box, and both are played the whole time, but depending on where your controller is, one receives more energy than the other. So let's get started. Sounds cool. So to do that, we need a little bit more code because we need more objects. So I'm going to make the header new in package mlis. There we go. Okay. So what are we gonna do as objects? So first we have to decide how we hit them. So let's take something simple, and let's take our mono 2 mass. So set make hammer, and set q. My hammer is a make object mono 2 mass, and that's it. Not going to touch much more than that. Now let's make our first object. Make object 1. Let's put a string. So we can, because the string is only going to get excited up and down, this time for one, take a string, normal mono string. So let's do that. Set q, my string, make object mono string. And here we're gonna write in some modes. So modes, the both objects should have the same number of modes. I'm gonna go a bit higher this time. Modes 300, and length, let's say 1 meter. I'm gonna control the pitch with length, I guess. Tension 100, density 1. Okay, I'm just gonna leave this empty and then go through the properties again. Radius 0.01. I want it thicker with more poise to it. Young 1 E9, and the frequency loss is 1. Constant loss, that's 0.4, so it sounds longer. And also let's have a few higher frequencies as well. So 0.6. Let's go after all back a very thin, and what did I say? Yeah, spider silk. So let's do that. Spider-Man is back. Where was he? Spider silk. So that would be density 1300. And and yeah, let's put 5e, no, 0.4, no, 5e9, yeah, so 5e9, yeah. So that's our spider silk. We are gonna set the pitch, oops, there, and set pitch of my string to for the length and be at 80 Hertz. There we go. Now we're going to make object 2 to our plate, right? Okay, so set q my plate, make object. Oh, that's not going to help if I have a typo here. Rect plate, and let's also put something cool in here, but go through first here. So modes, especially in Max, you should have the same number of modes. I don't think it actually matters too much here, but I guess it's better if it is that way. Length 0.5, length 0.5, thickness 0.01, density. Let's switch back to the properties. So let's do, as I said, let's do a diamond. Is it here, diamond? And that already, but it was fine. So density 3500, and or let's put uranium for a change. Uranium 19,100. Then young 208 E11 and Poisson 0.23. The frequency loss, let's put it also 0.5, and the constant loss, let's put 0.6 there. Let's set the pitch. Pitch my plate at length, not length, size, it's here, 80. Okay. The console doesn't complain, so everything seems to be fine. And now we have to make axes. Make axes. And that's quite a bit of work to do now. Because we don't just need these axes for the hammer, which we can do now. So set q my hammer hits, or hitting we were calling it usually, where the hammer is hitting. Make axis on my hammer. We are hitting with a small mass, so constant 1, and it's trans 0. There is nothing else here. Okay, and we have set q my hammer moving, the axis we are moving, so make axis my hammer constant 0 and trans 0 there. Okay, now let's go back to the hybrid objects. Let's look into the melt hybrid, for example. And the axes, there is something about here, so we need first to make the axes for every single object, and then to melt, to make the hybrid axis. So then we make the object here, then we make the hybrid axis from the two axes we have done. Okay, so let's figure out where I should put what. I guess to have everything in the objects, I will make the hybrid here, hybrid, and I will set Q my hybrid, make object, melt hybrid, and this will be a mix out of my string and my plate. And later we are going to make this controller envelope, but for now we are going to leave this on 0.5, so square in the middle. But we still have work to do here to hear it fading over to from one object to the other, right? Okay. And now let's do the axes here, because we need it for the in axis and for the out. So let's go. So we have a set Q my string hit. We are going to make this axis on my string. So until now, business as usual. Const, let's put it at 0.3 where we hit the string, and trans 0. Okay. Next, we need the output of the string. So my string listener. This is make access on my string, and we are going to put the listener on constant 0.8. Also trans 0. There we go. Next, we are going to have the two axes on my plate. So set Q my plate hit, make access my plate. And we are going to hit the plate on, let's say 0.3, 0.4. And this is an axis of type normal. There. And set Q my plate listener is going to be the axis on my plate with a constant of 0.7, 0.8, say, and is also normal. Oh, there we go. Okay. Okay, now let's make the hybrid axis. Axes. So what it says here is that we need to set Q my hybrid hit, I'm gonna call it. That's where I basically hit the hybrid. It's the hybrid axis. It says make hybrid axis, and that's gonna be on my hybrid, so there, and it's gonna be a mix between the two axes, my string hit and my plate hit. I'm gonna evaluate, and it spits out that. It's not happy with it because the documentation is lying. So after a little bit of research, I found the axis. I'm gonna save you a bit of time. And I went to hybrid axes and thought, what's going on here? And then there was written all the way down here, the command used to be called make axis hybrid. Well, big surprise, it's still called like that. And I'm on the newest version. I don't understand what is or has happened. So now it's okay. So let's do the second one like that. So I'm gonna just copy and change the names. So my hybrid listener is gonna be here, and it's gonna be on my hybrid a mix between my string listener and my plate listener. There we go. Okay, we can move over to make the connections. And let's use, because we liked it and it felt cool, the felt connection. So we are gonna do make connection felt, and we are gonna hit with the hammer. So my hammer hitting, it's gonna be 0.1, and it's gonna go to my hybrid hit, which is at 0 initially, and we are gonna let the rest just be. Please read the console. Can't do it. Do I have to write everything in? The thickness and everything? Felt connection could not coerce. Please check arguments type. Yeah, it needs more arguments, so I'm gonna do that. The constant thickness would be 0.1, 0.1. Then the constant for F alpha would be 1 E2. Then we have the alpha controller, which could be, I'm gonna put these one under the other. Okay, like last time. That's gonna be constant. High value makes the 3. Let's take 6. Then the alpha, the absolute controller. Okay. So 0.9, 0.9. And the tau will be 1 E minus 5 as a constant. Let's see if it wants to work with that. Yeah, now it's happy. Modalys is happy. Good. Now let's move the hammer. So that would be a make connection of the position to control the position of my hammer moving. And we are going to do that with our, like always, controller of the envelope with 1 dimension, and oops, it's going to be at 0 at position 0.1 there, and at 0.1 it's going to be at position minus 0.1, which should do us a basic hit. But we want to hear the difference, right? We want to be able to hear the difference between these hits when it's moving over. So let's make more hits. So let's go from to 1 where it's, well, let's put in 0.2 and back to 0.1. Or let's do it really clean. So at 1, it's still at minus 0.1, and then moves up again at 1.1 at 0.1. And let's have a third hit at 2. Let's be still at 0.1, and at 2.1, let's be at minus 0.1. There we go. Okay. Okay. Over that time, so until 2 seconds or something, we should move this this controller of the hybrid. So I will make a controller, set Q my a hybrid controller, make controller and envelope, and it will go from at 0, it will start at 0, and inside of 2 seconds it will go to 1. So there we have it, and we just write it in here as my hybrid controller, and that should be it. Output and synthesize would be make point output my hybrid listener. We are going to run it for, let's say, 4 seconds and play it. I'm going to save it for now on my Modalys folder. So we are already at number 8. So 008 hit hybrid.lisp. Okay, and now let's evaluate. So it only hit the first time, so I guess I have to go back up. I was wondering about that. So I'm gonna go here, 0.2 is gonna be at 0.1. And then here 1.2 is gonna, 1.2 is gonna be at 0.1. So this is minus, this is plus. And for the third hit, 2.1, 2.2, minus 0.1. Okay, let's see. Okay, we didn't hear the last one. I'm not quite sure why. Let's put it at 5. The last one is very, very weak. I don't know exactly why, if something is moving in a strange way, or we never know. We can make all of them stronger, you know, like do it really clear, like 1, minus 1, minus 1. Maybe that will help. Now it doesn't do the last one. Interesting. It seems to be much, much weaker than the beginning. So maybe this has to be the strongest, and these have to be kind of weak. Huh. That didn't work either. Interesting. So there would be some fumbling about if you have several hits that you would have to hear, but so you can basically really well hear the fade over to the other instrument. If we turn this to mix hybrid, let's try that and see how that sounds. Ha! Very interesting. That's how a spider silk reacts to uranium, I guess. But interesting, and now we can move over to OpenMusic to do the same there. So by now, maybe most of you will skip that. I don't know, or already know what to do. 0.8 hybrid hit. Okay. So Windows library, load the Modalys library. There we go. Okay. So it needs a little bit more time. We need a mlys mono to mass. That's one. Then we need a string, mlys mono string. And we need, oops, not that again, mlys plate, rect plate. Hey, mlys rect plate. There we go. Okay, I'm gonna shortly put in all the attributes here. So my string, we work with length. We have it on 80 Hertz. We have 300 modes, the length of 1, the tension of 100, the density of 1300, the radius 0.001, the young modulus is 5E9, then the frequency loss is 0.6, and the constant loss is 0.4. On the plate we have the size and also 80 Hertz, and we have also 300 modes. The length we let it be, the thickness we also let be, the density is 19,100, that's what we put in. The modulus is 2.08, then we have a Poisson from 0.23, we have a frequency loss from 0.5 and a constant loss of 0.6. Okay, now comes the orgy of axes. mlys axis. So we have 2 for the mono to mass, right? That's pretty clear. Then we have 2 for this one, for the string, and 2 for the plate. Let's set these. The one that we are moving here will be at 0 and trans 0. The one that is hitting is at 1 and also trans 0. Okay, so that's the hitting one, that's the moving one. Now here we have the one getting hit on the string getting hit, so that we set 0.3, and it's also trans 0, and where it's getting listened to we set 0.8, and it's also trans 0. On the plate we have 0.3, 0.4, which are getting hit. It's a normal axis on the plate. Here we have 0.7, 0.8, and that's also a normal axis on the plate. So these are both listeners, these are both getting hit. Okay, now let's make the hybrid axis. Okay, and we need 2 of those, one input, one output. And they come under the mlys melt hybrid. So the mlys hybrid takes both of these objects. So it takes object number 1 and object number 2. Huh, what is happening with the graphics here? It's confused. Okay. And here's the controller. These two axes need to mix. So these two axes need first the object itself, the hybrid object here, there, and then it needs the axes which belong. So axis number 1 of getting hit and number 2 of getting hit, and here axis number 1 of getting listened to and axis number 2 of getting listened to. Now we can just decide how it's hit. So we decided for the Modalys felt connection. So now is connection time. So here we decided to have the axis 1, the one which is hitting, which is starting at 0.1, I think I said. Let me just double check. Yeah, 0.1. And then the hybrid axis, which is getting hit, which is at 0. We typed in some things, so let's put them in here. 1, 1, E2, then 6, then 0.9, and 1E minus 5 there. Okay, so that's how we do that. We have the position, Modalys position connection. We have this, done that a few times now. Modalys envelope. As always, the BPF here, and putting in the envelope itself. So we have a few hits: 0, 0.1, 0.2, 1, 1.1, 1.2, 2, 2.1, 2.2, close the bracket. As values for these, we have 0.1 minus 0.1, 0.1. This repeats itself. Copy. Minus 1, 0.1, and another one. But here we did minus 0.5 just to try it out. Close the bracket and then 3 here. So we have this. Okay. Next we have the listener, Modalys point output. This getting listened to. We have another controller. I put it here, but it belongs connected to this one, where we kind of fade in, fade out. So we go from 0 to 2 seconds, and we move from 0 to 1. And the rest should be okay. Yeah. So now we can synthesize. Modalys synthesize. We will make an Modalys new and an Modalys run. It's gonna run for 4 seconds. And now we can connect everything. This here, this here, that, hey, that, and finally this. Come on, there. Put it into a sound. I hope again it doesn't oversteer. Please forgive me if it does. And there we have it. Oh. Ah, now the last one was... So there is some strange behavior here, which changes with this. So I wonder if I put in here everyone at minus 0.1, if it's gonna change, and how. Now it's only 2 hits. It's a strange behavior. It's a strange behavior. But if you remember my felt tutorial, it was tutorial number 6. In Max, we had some issues with getting a reaction from the plate getting hit. We had to put in higher numbers. So I thought it was that here. I tried it a little bit out, but it seems to kind of vary between, well, we'll see. So let's do this in Max. Okay, so what do we need in Max? We need a load bang, the button, just to be sure. So now we need the position. So mlis.position at name pause. There. And usually it doesn't work for me. I'm gonna write it in here so that everybody sees it, but by now I switched over to doing it all in the inspector. But let's continue. Well, let's put this away actually, because it's gonna look a little bit different. So there is an example for the hybrid, for the melt hybrid. Melt hybrid. I'm gonna just give it a name, my hybrid. There. So what we connect to the hybrid are the 2 objects, here and here, and then the connection, how we hit it. So we need the mlis position, yes, we do, but we also need in one go mlis, the mono 2 mass, name my hammer, and we also need the mlis.felt at name my felt, or feltcon rather. And this is hitting this. Now we're going to mix both objects. So we need a mlis.mono string at name my string, which is going in here, and we need an mlis.rectPlate at name my plate, which is going in here. So this makes our hybrid. At the end, we just go out, so mlis dot point output at name out1, and to round it all off, as always, put it in a script, put the script into a Modalys object, make the life gain there, and also the easy DAC. There we go. Control list and print there. Okay, so let's evaluate and look. He doesn't complain, but now we should put in the all these parameters. So the monostring has an initial position of 0.3. That's where we go in. The out we put at 0.8, as you can see here. The constant loss was 0.4. It was 1,300. The frequency loss was at 0.6. Length we are doing from outside, that's 300 modes. The pitch is for now at 80, which you should usually in Max control from the outside, but it's just showing the basics. The radius 0.005 and the young is 5E9. I still guess it's that. On the rectangular plate, we have the initial position, which is at 0.3, 0.4. And the initial out, which is at 0.7 and 0.8. So we don't need these hybrid axes in Max, it seems. The density is 19,100. The frequency loss is 0.5. The length we don't care. The modes should be the same number as the other object. And the pitch we are gonna make also 80. Pitch parameter size, Poisson is 0.23. The thickness is okay, and the young should be 2.08 and 11, I guess. There we go. The hybrid has a position which we can control from the outside. So that's what we're going to do. So as you can see, we need to hit it. So I'm going to make, as I usually do, a line object. And I'm going to make it hit, but I only need one hit. So from 0.1 to minus 0.5, I'm going to put in, just to be sure, in 100 milliseconds. There. And this I shouldn't have connected directly, but it goes rather to position, at position $1. There we go, and in here. And to control the hybrid, we can also make a little controller between 0 and 1. So let's make a slider. Let's put it like here, like that. But in that case, it should have float output and range from 0 to 1. And the message is my hybrid at, I think, wait, $1. I'm gonna double check. So my hybrid position, it's position, not wait, position. There. Okay. So, okay, so we are very much on a string. Let's move over. Let's move more over. Interesting. It seems it doesn't pay attention to the frequency loss I set. To the constant loss. Oh, it's still at 10. Why is it still at 10? Okay. Let's put in 0.5. before. I probably did a mistake. Reload. Yes. So nice little hybrids here. That's fun. We can also try the mix hybrid. Let's see how this works. Mix hybrid. So let's interesting that it gets so deep. But cool sounds. So that's fun. There is even a tree hybrid object where you can mix 3 objects with one another. So I hope the principle is clear and hope you had fun and continue to have fun, and see you on the next one.